4 5. First, though, the High Court's ruled that the Education Secretary, Loughborough MP Nicky Morgan, made an error of law in leaving non-religious worldviews out of the new Religious Studies GCSE. 3 families, backed by the British Humanist Association, argued that she had taken a skewed approach when she had announced changes in February. Mr Justice Warby ruled that there had been a breach of the duty to ensure the curriculum reflected the pluralistic nature of the UK. Well, the government said its GCSE aimed to promote understanding of all beliefs. John Catt is from the Leicester Secular Society. John, evening.
Good evening.
Are you happy with the ruling?
Very happy indeed. It's completely in line with our strapline, which is for an inclusive and plural society free from religious privilege, prejudice and discrimination. It means that non-religious worldviews will be treated on the same basis as the main religions of the world. And
sorry to interrupt, but within religious studies GCSE, there is discussion about people with no faith, though, isn't there?
Oh, certainly, but it's not actually a requirement, and it depends on the local SACRE, which is the standard advisory body for local authorities, and varies immensely between local authorities. For example, humanism is covered in the Leicester SACRE syllabus, but it's not within the Leicestershire one.
I think you could argue the problem, though, isn't it? Was it 28 odd different religious leaders have had issues with the decision to, as they would say, prioritise certain beliefs over others. That's the way that they've put it. But actually, ultimately, as a government teaching religious studies, you have to draw the line somewhere.
Oh, absolutely, and that's actually what the judge makes clear in his judgment. He basically points out that according to the census, 25.1% answered the question, what is your religion, by saying they had none, and 7.2% did not say what religion they held. The 5 non-Christian religions represented in the subject content yielded responses of 4.8% for Muslims, down to 0.4% for Buddhists. So when you look at the population, after people labelled Christian, non-religious people are the next largest segment. So not examining the way they think about life within RE, bearing in mind that religion these days is defined as religion and belief, doesn't make sense. And of course it's dangerous in some respects because some religions tend to demonise those who don't believe in the supernatural, and it's important that children brought up in those faiths learn to appreciate what non-believers, what motivates non-believers. In the same way, it's very important that children who grow up in non-believing households have an appreciation of those from a religious background.
Well, I mean, I was going to say that there has to be a healthy two-way street here, doesn't there? Because it would seem to me that religious studies increasingly is more of a kind of a philosophical subject. It talks about the philosophy of belief or no belief or whatever it might be, and that's frankly it's different to the way that religious studies or RE when you and I were at schools too.
Oh, absolutely. If you go way back to, I think it's pre-1977, which is definitely when I was at school, it was called divinity or religious instruction, and it was definitely about inculcating a particular worldview, a Christian one, very much so in my case. These days, religious education is very much more about teaching about religion. But up to now, many of the syllabuses have excluded humanism. In other words, Leicestershire be another example. I think they've got 5 religions in there, but there's no discussion required about the philosophy and worldviews of those who don't believe in supernatural beings.
But the point is, it is religious studies, isn't it? It's not non-religious studies, and it's not unreasonable. But it's not unreasonable. This is studying religions, not people that don't believe in religion.
Well, under the human rights legislation, non-religion is regarded as religion, essentially. We take it. Yes, I won't try and quote chapter and verse, but if you read the judgment, it's made quite clear that it's non-religious beliefs and worldviews are regarded in the same category as religion, and the judge is essentially saying that it's important that in a plural society children should be brought up to have an appreciation of non-religious worldviews just as much as they should have an appreciation of the main religions that they're likely to encounter during their life.
Isn't that to a degree, though, sort of having your cake and eating it? On the one hand, arguing against religion per se, but also claiming the rights of religion.
Who said anything about arguing against religion?
No, I don't mean it in that sense. But from the perspective of, humanists would not describe themselves predominantly as a religious person.
No, but they have a belief. So they have a worldview, and these days that worldview is equated with the religion when it comes to human rights, and hence I think you can quote, the state has a duty to take care that information or knowledge included in the curriculum is conveyed in a pluralistic manner. The state must accord equal respect to different religious convictions and to non-religious beliefs. It is not entitled to discriminate between religions and beliefs on a qualitative basis. That was actually in the judgment.
What would you like to see change in the way that GCSE religious studies is taught then, given this in post
There's no requirement to change it apart from allow the inclusion of humanism as one of the subjects that can be chosen for study. Because essentially the GCSE requirement is that you can choose two religions to study, and this ruling actually goes, I believe, from where I've read of it, far wider than that. I think it will actually affect the whole RE syllabus, but if you're referring specifically to the GCSE, then it means that they will have to allow humanism to be one of the religions or beliefs that a pupil could or student can choose to study for the GCSE examination. But the judgment itself would seem to undermine any local authority sacre which excludes humanism from its syllabus.
Are there any examples of that having happened, though?
What, where humanists are excluded?
Well, no, the teaching of GCS within that framework, the teaching of people of talking and discussing people with non-belief or no belief.
There's two different aspects here. There's religious education and what should be included in that, and there's the specific syllabus for the GCSE. And on the GCSE side, it's simply saying that you choose two religions or beliefs, and one of those must now be humanism. You don't need to study humanism. You can still choose to do Christianity and Judaism, which is the recommendation, I think, of the Catholic Church, or you could choose Sikhism and Islam. That will be down to the school and the students to decide which ones they go for. What this is about is actually saying you can't exclude or ignore humanism when it comes to the major world views and religions that should be included.
John, thanks for coming on the programme this evening. Thank you.
Right.
That's John.